world, what is up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte. We are here live at the Build Studio in New York City. Stranger Things, one of the most watched and most bingeable shows on television ever, returned for its third season last week. So I assume by now, if you are watching this or are here in this room, you've seen some of or all of the episodes. If not, we will be drifting into this slight, very light spoiler territory, but I felt I had to warn you of that, okay? We're not going to spoil how it ends or anything like that, but we will drift into some spoilers, and I only say this because our next guest performance this season is phenomenal and truly a standout portion of this season, so to not ask him about just how he did it, that would be criminal. All right, folks, the great Dacre Montgomery is back on the show. I'm excited. How do you feel about that? Are you guys hyped? I can't wait. Hear those woos? They know he's here. We're going to bring him out in just a moment, but first, I believe we have a trailer for the latest season, so let's go ahead. Let's run that clip.
At least someone's happy I'm home. It's just a dream. You're dreaming.
My basement all day? Play games for the rest of our lives?
It is important to me that you feel safe. I want you to feel like this can still be your home.
How many children are you friends with?
Ladies and gentlemen, make a crazy amount of noise. The great Dacre Montgomery is right here. Come on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, thank you so much for being here, dude. Congratulations, not just on this phenomenal show. Life right now is pretty nuts for you. I saw you were on, I want to say, the cover of GQ Germany. You were on Men's Health, which was Australia. You're all over the place right now. Life must be nuts these past couple of weeks, months for you, huh?
And I feel very fortunate, that's for sure.
It's got to be a fun ride, man.
Totally. I mean, it's been great to have been. It's such an amazing show, man. I feel so grateful to have been a part of it, and I'm excited for everyone to watch it. I mean, everyone's been consuming it at such a fast rate, as everyone does. Everyone binges it. But for those people who haven't finished it yet, I'm excited.
Is that what's that moment like? You know, how long ago did you guys wrap production on this? How long have you had to sit on this?
We had about 9 months post-production, which is a long time for TV. Yeah. But there was so much for them, obviously, as you've seen, for them to do. But it's been 2 years, I think, all in all, since we last released something.
That's wild. So you've had to kind of just sit back and wait. You put a lot of yourself into this, and now you're finally getting to sort of reap the benefits, see people's responses, see fans respond, see the Twitter and the world at large. What is that like to see as people consume it, years, months' work of your life in about 2 or 3 nights, and they fly through it? What's that like to observe that?
Really rewarding. I think we live in a day and age where binging is such an important part of pop culture, right? So to be able to watch something back to back continuously, I think is really exciting. And just hearing and reading and listening to people all around the world who have ordered in or are making dinner or are locking themselves away overnight, or even the night it came out, people getting up at midnight or 3 in the morning here on the East Coast and just beginning it and watching 8 hours in the middle of the night, I thought was pretty impressive.
Do you ever get nervous right before that moment? Do you think like, oh man, what if it doesn't play the way I hoped it does?
Mate, hugely. I mean, hugely. We got the screeners to watch the episodes a couple of weeks, obviously, before it came out. And I was sitting at home enjoying it because you can watch the other storylines completely unbiasedly. I wasn't there when they were shooting. And just kind of going, oh my God, my bit's coming. And then it comes and you're so tense. Do you know what I mean through it? But I think Billy's story arc is amazing this season and just bringing such a multi-layered character to life, I think, was amazing in season 2, and then just seeing where he goes in season 3. I'm so fortunate that they wrote that arc for me, and just trying to do as much justice to humanizing the villain, I think we were speaking about before, as possible.
Yeah, which is what I really wanted to talk to you about, is how you guys found that balance. Did you know, I think I know the answer to this, but when you came on to season 2, did you have any inkling of an idea this is where Billy was going to be going? Or did they only know what he was going to do in season 2, and it was after working with you they told you more?
Yeah, to an extent.
Yeah.
I mean, we spoke in season 2 about the full arc, and I knew what was going to become of Billy at the end of this season. But I didn't know how big the role was going to be this season. Do you know what I mean? And we had discussions in between. I really wanted to learn about Billy's biological mother and that component. And that was something that the Duffers and I spoke about 3 months before they started writing season 3. And that's just a tribute to how collaborative they are, that they included that, and it becomes a defining moment in Billy's redemptive sort of end, I guess.
That's kind of amazing when a show of this scale, of this like significance to Netflix and culturally, that the creators will sit down and sort of take that input and work with you on those things. There's a great, and I think I just read this, I don't know if I read it this morning or over the weekend, but you were saying a similar thing happened in season 2, where you got to sort of collaborate and work with them, and it's the scene
with Billy's father.
With Billy's father. Yeah.
Again, that was just a tribute to humanizing the villain, and we were shooting episode 5 or whatever it was, and I said, he's not just bad because he's bad. I mean, how can we get the audience to empathize with this character? And then they wrote the scene with the father, and you sit back and you go, it's all clear. And I think for me, I was bullied pretty heavily in high school, and my whole thing is, how do you empathize with the antagonist? Yeah. So those kids that were bullying me, I look back on it now as an adult and kind of go, well, they were probably going home to some really tough things that I didn't have to go home to, that built their insecurities. I have mine, you have yours, but neither of us are good and bad. We're not. Otherwise that's a one-dimensional depiction of a character, whereas I was trying to do more than that.
That's the thing that I keep going back to with this season, is that episode to episode, it was amazing to watch you find those moments to pepper in that humanity and remind us that Billy is still in there. Whatever's going on with Billy this season, his humanity has not been completely lost. It's somewhere. And I'm wondering how you got ready for that, how you prepared for that, and then how you sort of, oscillated between those two speeds of borderline demonic possession and this lost, scared dude inside whatever the hell's going on.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know if any of you have seen Split. With James McAvoy, the split personality disorder. So that was a big thing for me, looking or researching bipolar disorder, split personality disorder. And oftentimes, right, one of the personalities of the characters controls the spot, right, at any given time. So for me, I treated Billy's possession, or whatever you want to call it, without giving too much away, like a split personality. So I wanted you, the audience, to see the actual Billy in my eyes the whole way through, and then the possessed Billy in the physicality, almost like split personality, and one character is trying to get control over the spot. Do you know what I mean? So it's like a rubber band that's super taut, and in episode 8, it snaps. And we see that glimpse of him, and in all his glory, in all his childhood glory. You hear stories about personalities in people with split personality disorders that are suppressed for years and years and years. And I wanted to treat it like that 10-year-old version of Billy. When that rubber band is cut, you see him.
That's who pokes through, yeah.
You see, and he's been suppressed for, 8 years or however long it's been.
Do you, when you're working on something with this much depth and a character that has to go through all these different places, do you look at it as a whole? Do you sit down with the Duffers and you make sure every X amount of pages or somewhere we're hitting this beat, we're hitting that beat? Like how much of that happens? How much of that homework gets done before you even step in front of the camera?
To speak to the Duffers, I think they do it. It's obvious that they're writing something. Yeah. The craftsmanship in the screenplay writing is just incredible, right? So there's not a lot of that, but in terms of the emotional world, it's exactly what I'm talking to, and that's in analyzing all of these traits about my character so that I'm bringing you a character that isn't just one-dimensional and somebody that hopefully breathes life, into a role that's not a villain, because I don't think he is actually a villain. I don't consider myself a person that's played a villain, to be honest with you, because it's not as black and white as that, I don't think.
Where does the physicality come from? Who do you look at for that, for inspiration, to figure out he's going to stand this way, he's going to move this way? Where do you feel that?
I don't know. I mean, every day you go out, you can feel it. And I was talking the other day to someone about masks that we put up, right? Public Dacre versus private Dacre with you, like with the audience. I am one personality or one facet of myself. And I think naturally with that comes insecurity. Like, I feel tense right now. I feel nervous right now. That's one facet.
You're amongst friends.
I know, yeah, but you know what I mean?
All these lights and cameras.
But I think that comes, a level of, your walls are up, right? 100%. So naturally your physicality comes with that. And I think that's where that possessed Billy physicality comes from, but I'm really trying to show you my heart with my eyes constantly, and it feels like your eyeballs are screaming for 8 months of filming. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not trying to get so meta about this.
No, that's fine. I like that. That's what the show is for, is to get into that zone and figure out how we get from just you sitting here in this chair to being this amazing character that we see, that you carry out throughout this season. I'm just sorry you had to make your eyeballs scream so much.
Bleeding eyeballs.
That's a bummer. That's a real bummer
to have.
Talking about physicality, talking about being physical this season, you get banged up. You do a lot of crazy physical work, stunt work, things of that nature. You talked a little bit about how you could watch the individual storylines because you weren't there for a lot of it. When you guys do meet up, which does happen a couple of times throughout the series, it's really intense. Were those long days? What kind of rehearsal did you guys get before those moments? There's a bunch in particular, but we'll dance around it for those that haven't seen everything.
Well, in particular, episode 4, there is a scene in a sauna, and that was shot over a whole week. Sean Levy Sean Levy directed those episodes, and I just come to a set with a whole bunch of crazy ideas and present them to him and the other cast members and sort of see what they take of it. But the shifts in that scene, any actor I think would be reading that, you kind of marvel at it and go, holy crap, like that's my dream, to have that kind of, I guess, shifts that he's having in that scene and what it ends up turning into. And you think that's a season ender cliffhanger, but it's only episode 4. Yeah. And that's what's so exciting. And you get that breadth in between and building up to that redemptive moment at the end, which is probably the second part of my point, that final scene with Billy and Eleven, up until obviously the kids enter. I'm trying to dance around for anyone who hasn't seen it. That Millie and I just ran around that mall screaming until we cried. And like for, however old she is, 14 or whatever, she's just the emotional maturity for such a young human being is incredible. And I like to think that I bring absolutely every drop I've got in every moment I'm on set, whether it's 4 hours or 17 hours. And she does exactly the same. So that final scene was super emotional for us, and we both lost our voices and we don't even speak in the scene, but we were just screaming at each other, but I think it's important as well in these big moments, in these action moments, to remember, when you're working with someone, how fragile they are, not just emotionally, but she has such a tiny frame. Yes. And she's under me, and you have to be like aware of all those sort of things. So from a technical point of view as well, it was hard because you are wanting to give everyone everything that you can. Like, I was yelling so much at Sadie Max through that glass window that I headbutted and smashed through a plate glass window that wasn't supposed to smash.
That's not...
and all the kids are like, and their reaction is 2-cam setup, and the kids are like, their reactions is like, because I think in the reverse, you have to give them everything that you can. So when it's not my coverage, when it's just your coverage, it's all the kids give you the same. So if I'm on camera doing my thing, Millie's behind camera weeping. You know what I mean? I think that's pretty special. You know, I'll miss that for sure.
Is there, when you accidentally slam your head through a plate glass window, is there a moment where you go, holy crap, I just slammed my head through I better stay in the moment? Like, does it snap you out of it for a second, or does it actually push you deeper into that moment that you're
I
performing?
think in some respects, without sounding too actory about
Please
it,
do.
you know what I mean? I think it does. It does, because you're like, I'm committed. I'm committing. I'm here. I'm for the 17 hours or whatever that I'm on set. Every day that I'm set, you're getting everything. You're getting every drop of my passion, my essence, my being, everything. You've got all of me for those hours. And I think growing up as a kid, this is just a dream come true. So when the dream does come true, why not give it your all? This is what you've been working towards. This is what you want, right?
What was the makeup process like for you this season? You endure a lot of
5
weird
hours.
stuff.
Yeah,
5
every
hours?
day, yeah. But amazing.
day?
Yeah, Amy, who's the head of the hair and makeup, head of the makeup department, and Sarah, who's head of the hair department. The wig didn't take too long. My hair is a wig. And that was about half an hour. But between all the prosthetics, all the cuts and bruises that Billy gets over the season and all the tracking dots for special effects and all this sort of stuff, it took about 5 hours every day.
What do you do for those 5 hours?
Mate, look, there's a TV in the trailer. We watch movies, watch some Braveheart, you know, do the whole thing,
go do?
get ready for
Put
battle.
Braveheart on?
Mate, yeah, no, I think it is, because it's like we are getting ready for battle, especially these scenes. You walk on a set, and we've finished our 5 hours, and we walk in a big crew. I usually have friends and family with me, and we've got hair and makeup, and you walk to set, and it is that. You're painted, and you're ready to go to battle. And the great thing about this character is it's so far from myself. My ear's not pierced. I don't have a mullet. I'm not in that great shape all the time by any means. Mate, I eat a lot of chocolate.
Men's health.
Nah, mate, it's all an illusion. I get them to Photoshop the crap out of that. But you walk to set, and it's like you're ready for that. You're ready to walk into battle, and the great thing is, it's like these are the troops. You know what I mean? They're leading the charge, and I'm just part of it. And I've learnt so much from everyone else and the crew, the greater organism that is the show behind the scenes that you don't see. All those people that are paying attention to, you know, what color shoelaces do you have? Do you know what I mean? That stuff's amazing. You know what I mean?
It's pretty outstanding, man. You know, one of the things, this isn't directly connected, my brain's weird. You said organism, and it reminded me of the creatures on this season. And in years past, when the show first started, slightly smaller budget, nobody knew what Stranger Things was. The Duffers relied on a lot of practical effects. I feel like this season, they less practical, more digital, but what that's done is it's really opened their creativity. We get a lot of gross creatures we haven't seen before, and a lot of weird stuff they haven't been able to do. I'm curious what that was like on your side. Was there still practical stuff for you to play to? Were you playing? Was it a lot of balls on sticks? What did you have to play off of?
Balls on sticks.
Balls on sticks, that's it.
On sticks. No, we there was a lot of that, but it's great. Because of the amount of money in the show, there's so much pre-visualization.
Yeah.
So the special effects guys will come and show you, this is what the monster will look like.
Oh, that's cool.
This is where it will be. So, and between that and the set, there's not much suspension of disbelief. I'm telling you, you walk on set, it's like you're in the 80s. And I would hope that lack of practical and bigger special effect thing hasn't taken away from the show, because I don't feel like it has. I still feel like the heart is there.
I don't think it has either, and yeah, I should specify that's definitely a pitfall I think a lot of people fall into, is where it's just boilerplate. Practical is better than digital, but I think there's a way to use digital. I think what they do with the effects and the things that it allows them to do, it certainly does not take away from any of it, and the heart is there. And again, it is creepy, gross stuff that we get that I just don't know how they do if they didn't have the digital stuff. But yeah, I was just curious of what that, becomes for you and for your process. I imagine like you were saying, the makeup and everything, getting prepared, getting painted, that goes a long way to immersing you in that world.
I think so as well. And like on set, you smoke herbal cigarettes, but I sort of choose to smoke Marlboro Reds, right? I don't smoke in real life, but the Marlboro Red smoke looks thick, and you smell it, in your clothes and on your skin, and it gets in your pores. Yeah. And I would always smoke a cigarette before I walk in, even if I'm not smoking in the scene. Now, I know I'm not condoning smoking by any means, but I'm just saying that as an actor, when you smell that, that's another thing to go off the back of your question about embodying the world and how do you imagine the world. Because when you smoke, it's like, it's different from Dacre. It's Billy. The smell of tobacco is Billy for me.
That's really interesting. Like the tactile, like to be able to like touch those things, those tangible things.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because that is.
Yeah.
You're creating something fictional. You have all these amazing things at work, amazing cinematographers, all this sort of stuff, but that is tangible. Yeah. You don't have to look at the monitor for that. You feel it, you smell it, and you just kind of go, I need to be confident in myself. I need to be relaxed, and I need to strip off that mask that I was talking about before. And when you get close enough with the crew, you can start to strip that stuff off, and I think that's a marvelous moment to have.
Well, you, my friend, have brought us many marvelous moments this season, and I honestly, I could talk to you all day about just what you've done, but I think we've tap danced as much as we can without giving anything away, and I really appreciate the stuff you've opened up about. In a little bit, we're going to go, we got some questions from the audience and from Twitter, but before we do any of that, I wanted to ask you about your launching, I want to say the 11th, July 11th. Yeah. You've got a brand new podcast that you've been working on that sounds really cool and interesting, and I was hoping you could tell us a little bit more about it and
really
where it came
random.
from.
It's so random.
Yeah, it's super random. What is this thing? It sounds fascinating.
Yeah, look, I'll describe it the best way I can. I spent the last few years writing poetry, beat poetry, and I kind of collated it all into 6 tracks. And I reached out to musicians and composers all around the world, and I had them build scores to accompany me narrating my beat poetry. It's supposed to be meditative and all kinds of things. So I just had the last track rap, and it was a Swedish composer who recorded it with a live orchestra in Stockholm onto a cassette deck tape and sent it to my mixer. And it's been a beautiful, really cathartic experience. It's very personal to me, so I'm very nervous about it. But I'll drop it in about 48 hours and we'll see what happens.
DKMH,
yes,
right?
That's correct.
It's called DKMH. Where would you be when you'd be inspired to write the poetry? Would you set aside time? All right, tonight at 9 o'clock, I got to sit down, I got to write something.
It has to be momentary. For me, the 6 tracks are, one is analyzing my anxiety or my ego or falling in love. I think, all sorts of things that I try and unpack and then give to you in the most universally kind of digestible way that I can through my words, because I can't sing, so you're not ever going to get that. But
never say never, man.
Yeah, who knows? But look, we'll see what happens. Yeah,
that's really exciting. Does that kind of doing that, does that exercise, that thought exercise, and sitting down and analyzing those thoughts, does it go to inform the work you do when you get on set and stuff like that? When it comes time to sort of excavate stuff and figure out how to go certain places?
Well, I think anything cathartic in a way is you're psychoanalyzing and counseling yourself so that you can actually switch off and onto work and into your characters, because then you're not bringing that baggage of like, this happened to me. I fell in love yesterday, but I've got to do this crazy scene. Do you know what I mean? You kind of unpack it and put it on paper. And hopefully it makes sense. It could just be a rant of crazy things, and I guess we'll find out, as I said.
At the end of the day, man, whatever it is, you made the thing, which is a big step towards the sharing it with the rest of the world. You got to make the thing, and you did. And I'm really excited to check it out.
Thank you, dude.
It sounds really cool. And the last thing I wanted to ask you about, because I was doing all my research and I saw you had another great project, the Broken Heart Gallery. Have you finished work on that yet?
I'm going to fly there in about 3 hours.
Jeez, when do you sleep, man?
I don't know, man. Who knows? Ask my girlfriend. She'd probably be really upset. She never gets any sleep. She's like, you're dragging me around the world doing all this stuff. But no, we start actually shooting properly next week. And it's a romantic comedy. I'm trying to go so left field.
Yeah, you're going the other direction.
It's also a really good ego stripping exercise to kind of take the piss out of myself a bit and not take myself so seriously. Comedy is also a different pace from drama, right? So I think there's a lot of learning in there for me. It's beautifully written, mate. I'm really excited to sort of take part in it. And I think it's just something so different to this character. So it'll be nice to play that juxtaposition or the antithesis to that, to Billy. You know what I mean?
That's why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You were here, I think we said it was a couple of years ago when Power Rangers came out, and it was really cool to meet you back then. And just to see all the cool crap you've knocked out, man, in this time since then and what you're working on, it's super exciting. I'm super thrilled that you had a chance to come and you dragged your team here to come be with us for a minute.
Me. I appreciate it.
It's so cool, man. Congrats on this and all that stuff. Let's get some questions from everybody else out there, man. At Edward is the man, no dispute here, asks, who would win in a fight, Billy from Stranger Things or Jason from the Power Rangers movie? Great question.
That's a really good question. I don't think I have an answer for that. I feel like that crossover of worlds is really hard to sort of adjust. I wonder if this guy, what's his name?
This is
Edward Sanchez.
Edward Sanchez
Has seen, have you finished Stranger Things? That's the real question. Because if you finish season 3, I think the answer to that question
lies in episode 8.
It lies in episode 8.
What a brilliant way to promo that show. This question has almost nothing to do with that, really, but if you watch the whole show, you might just find out who. Well, Edward, you may be the man, but you heard Dacre there. Go ahead and watch the show, and you'll find your answer. Kate, how many do I got in the room? I got 4. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. Who's got a microphone? First one, right here. Do it up.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How was it different portraying Billy emotionally from season 2 and season 3?
That's a really good question. That whole split personality thing that I was talking about, I don't really think that there was that. I think in some respect there was. Physically, like I said, my eyes weren't bleeding in season 2. They didn't feel like they were screaming. And the only thing I feel like is just remembering that feeling of like forcing the emotion out. So that's probably the biggest difference.
Thank you for your question. I got a few more. Next one coming up. I see a microphone being passed. I'll keep talking till you're ready. You appear ready. Go for it.
Hi. Well, first of all, I just wanted to thank you for the work that you did on season 2. I think a lot of us who had the same experiences growing up as Billy really appreciate that humanizing aspect of it. And then the question that I have for you is, you mentioned Billy as sort of a Jesus figure, like that imagery, and with his mother. And I was wondering, that was before you started filming the show.
Yeah.
So if you, after you watched it, if you had any other crazy theories like that.
Yeah, well, to speak to that, one of these crazy suggestions I said I wouldn't mention was that Billy had been the product of IVF, and a 35-year-old virgin had given birth to him. Stay with me here. And what would that child become, being the son of a virgin and the God complex kind of component? And I think I did take that in some respects, because you were talking before about my physicality in the season. I think it is. It's like that pumped up on that adrenaline that he's got from that force in that town that's kind of guiding him to where he's going. So I was definitely thinking about that the whole way through. And the great component to that, or antithesis to that, is that the mother and that memory is what brings me out of it to not give it away. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Again, it was a really crazy suggestion to them. They obviously didn't include it. That's a separate series you can watch at a later date.
On the last episode, there was some interesting imagery that tied into what you were talking about.
Totally. And that's, again, what I'm saying about the Duffers will take something from what you give them, even if it's a lot of crazy babble from me back in Australia on Skype being like, hey, guys, I heard this amazing story. I've never heard anything like it. Can we do something? But, yeah, it definitely played in for me a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for that. I've got time for 2 more. Next one's going to be all the way in the back. Go for it.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Well, obviously, Billy is a hugely impactful character this season for the audience and for the characters. I was just wondering, moving forward, what has Billy taught you as a person?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
I think it's taught me that you, them, anyone in life, we all have insecurities. Everyone does. Everyone puts up masks. And it's all about finding that person that you think is antagonizing you and finding out what really drives them and why are they doing it. And they're not doing it just because they're bad. And how can you actually find some common ground and some similarities and flesh that relationship out and not let it bring you down? Do you know what I mean in some respects?
Yeah, thank you.
That's all right.
I got one more. Let me do one more question. I'm looking.
Hey, buddy.
Hey,
how you doing?
How you doing? I'm great. Sorry, you're great. I don't know what I'm saying.
No, man, you're great. You're great.
Thank you. So I think it's obvious that you're such a creative, collaborative guy. I think we see that from your audition tape and your podcast. I listened to the teasers last night, and it was super interesting. So I was wondering, for such a collaborative person, how do you funnel all those voices into one focused performance at the end of the day? How do you make those decisions?
That, again, these are all great questions. I don't even know if that's something I've thought about myself. I think someone said to me when I was a kid, if you have that fire in your belly and that passion, imagine it's a big stove, like a wood-fired pizza oven, and you stoke it, and you got to keep stoking it, and you keep going. And if you have curiosity, and if you have enough passion to drive you to be prepared, I genuinely believe that it will meet timing or luck, if you want to call it that. And that is the opportunity you got to go for and take. And when you're in that moment, all that creative energy naturally will funnel itself into you stepping into your destiny, into what you are meant to do. Whether it's this or a version of whatever you want to go on and do in your life, I genuinely believe that you can take that and you can go and do it if you have, I don't know how many fingers I was holding up, all those things. Do you know what I mean, though, genuinely? I think it just comes at that moment and it all peels off and you go, I'm here and I'm going to take this moment and I'm going to grab it and I'm going to do everything that I can with it.
That's a beautiful place to wrap things up. That was really
Thanks.
nice. Yeah. Well, thank you. I want to thank you guys for being an awesome audience and asking wonderful questions and being with us today. Thank everybody out there for asking your questions and watching us live as well. I warned you plenty of times we might spoil. I think we did a great job. I don't think we really spoiled anything.
Tried to dance around. I think we did.
I think we danced around nicely. Stranger Things season 3. Go watch it right now if you haven't already. Go finish watching it. July 11th. DKMH. July 11th. Wherever podcasts are available, which is everywhere, so go ahead and listen to it. And then keep an eye out for the Broken Heart Gallery, which is coming maybe later this year, later next year.
I'm not.
You got to go make it. You don't even know yet.
Thank you, dude. We'll make it. We'll do the best. We'll throw it in.
best.
Hopefully next year.
Dude, absolute pleasure. I can't say it enough. Always so awesome to have a chance to sit down and talk to you. Thank you again. Everybody, please make a ridiculous amount of noise for Dacre over here. Come on, Dacre Montgomery, everybody.
Thanks, buddy.